Hi everybody, welcome out to another episode of Cult Classics vs. Comedians. My name is Jamie Maxfield. I want to thank you guys for joining us today. We are recording here at Quick Wits Theater in Midvale, Utah. And I am joined by these three awesome comedians here today. I've got Mr. Cody Eden.
Hello.
Jady Peeters.
Hi.
And Bob Bedore.
Howdy.
And today we're talking about a mid-'80s, I would say, a mid-'80s film called Something Wicked This Way Comes. Bob, this is your film to take us through.
Yeah, a little earlier than 1983, this was the last movie to carry the Walt Disney Productions banner. Went to pictures after that. This was a very interesting movie for Disney to do at the time because it's this... I think really, and what may be one of the faults of the movie, but also one of the charming parts about it, it tried to ride the fence. It still wanted to be something for kids. It was a story that was good enough for kids to follow and go through, but that adults could find some real meaning and scares to at the same time. The story takes place in a small town, very Disney-esque, and what you've got is these two kids that are neighbors. In fact, they can jump almost from rooftop to rooftop to go see each other, and they're kind of bored with their life. Then all of a sudden, a flyer comes into play, and it's Mr. Dark's Pandemonium. Pandemonium. I think it was
Penicillin.
yeah.
Penicillin.
That's right. That sounds right.
This carnival's coming into town. These kids are super excited about this carnival coming into town, and it's basically... This carnival is one that lets you get what you want most out of life. It allows you, but once it does that, then it has you. A very simple story in that regard, that the people come to this carnival. I mean, you get the guy who was at one point a football hero, and now he's lost an arm and a leg, and he's just a bartender, but man, he still loves football. In fact, one of the best lines of the whole thing is like, I wish I was back there with the football and the passes and the tackles.
Throw ball and the score points.
The tackles, but he now sees himself in the funhouse mirror with 2 arms and 2 legs, and then later you see him in the parade, and he's now a little boy. We're giving you what you want. There's a price that
There's always a price.
The kids get kind of drawn into this more with just their curiosity of what's going on. But it turns out that the main boy, his father, played by Jason Robards, who looks ancient in this movie and should not have been this kid's father in any way, shape, or form.
That was a plot point that he was old for a father, but man,
way too old.
I was like, high five me. Man,
keep
it going.
Keep
going.
Hope I can crank one out of that age.
But the coolest part about this movie, though, has got to be Mr. Dark.
He's amazing.
Jonathan Pryce. But I want you to do this. I want you to now think of him, the way he looked in that movie, and put him next to Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you'll get that he is the evil, not that Willy Wonka is any real saint, but the eviler Willy Wonka. And there is also some very non-Disney things in this movie. There's the one little bit where the kids look through the peephole and they're watching these girls dance. You know, they're kind of like these Indian silk dancers. But then all of a sudden there's a guy in the crowd and they bring the guy up, and the next thing you know, he's naked. I mean, they're not seeing all, but you're seeing at least, I mean, from shoulder up.
He's topless. At best.
And it becomes this great little fight now between Jason Robards and Jonathan Pryce. And I think one of the pinnacle scenes of this is this great scene in the library, because he's trying to find out something. And Jonathan Pryce comes in and he's just talking to him. He's ripping pages out of this book with every age that, and then 30 came and you thought you were this, but no, 31, boom, and he's ripping these pages. It's a really intense scene, and you're like going, wow, I have a hard time, and not that this was like super scary, super anything, but it was so non-Disney. I think was the weird thing.
That's a great. That's just 2 dudes acting their butts off.
It's a great acting.
And then when he makes him, he basically takes him over and says, "You're gonna feel death, so you know what it's like when it comes." That line
that is
like,
really dark.
I'm like, whoa.
The other thing that I love, my little thing that I didn't notice until I watched it again. We watched it for this episode. There's probably the green gas is now following the kids home. And if you listen, in fact, I'm hoping that we can play just a little bit of it during this. It is pretty much Darth Vader's Imperial.
Yeah.
Yes.
It sounds like bomb, bomb.
Jady, what do you think about this?
It was really, really interesting to watch because it informs so many movies and TV shows that I've seen afterwards where it's like, oh, the devil comes to town. He gives you what you want. There are repercussions. Like that, I feel like this movie is kind of like the touchstone for a lot of different themes like that.
Yeah.
Like now I get it. I get where it's coming from. It's like watching The Shining and then watching The Simpsons and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So it's not cliche because it made the cliche happen.
Yeah.
So I really
Yeah.
liked it.
See that?
And they package it into a carnival because people want to go to a carnival and have fun and then
Right?
Yeah.
get what they want.
The Hall of
Cotton
Mirrors and everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. There are a lot of like things that became tropes and.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like they came from this. Maybe there was like a movie in the 30s that was
That set that all
that
up.
set this up,
Yeah.
but Ray Bradbury is just
Yeah.
he's pretty original person.
Yeah. Yep.
So there you go.
Cody?
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought up that the screenplay was written, or a version of it was written years before, because the movie
Yeah.
does kind of feel kind of anachronistic, even for the 80s.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just the tone of it and the way characters talk. It reminded me of like looking through a book of Bradbury's short stories, and the stuff that he wrote in the 50s and 60s has this kind of old Americana feel, very simple plots and characters that are like pulled straight out of Norman Rockwell paintings almost.
Yeah.
This movie feels like you're like sipping like warm cider. It's
Yeah.
like it's autumn, like just
It's a great
American
autumn movie.
Yeah.
I like the film. I definitely can see a lot of those, drawn out pieces. The acting in it was great. I mean, the guy, Mr. Dark,
Yes, Jonathan Bryce. Yeah.
he was just awesome. I could have watched him walk around town for an hour, just talking to people. Right? I mean, it was so good. Although I think his ability as a promoter was awful because
yeah.
you see him just throwing. I mean, this is how he's going to promote his carnival. He's just going to litter flyers all over town.
Like he barely cares.
Yeah, he's just like, well, like I got paid.
Get
It's
a
like,
staple gun.
it's like
that was a great team. But those flyers made it
they
everywhere
always
they
make it
needed
ready
to go. Boy.
It's just like a comic in New York, just handing out flyers for some,
For a bringer
show. Here, here. And the barber for me was creepy. He was the creepiest person in this movie. He's like, hey, you like the smell of ladies?
And you smell that perfume of strange women on
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
like, is that what you're what?
I think the only part that I kind of, it didn't make sense to me was when Mr. Dark was like, oh, Will, I had your mother come into the carnival and I drove her crazy.
Yeah.
And then he sees his mother and he's like, oops, I guess that was Jim.
lady.
Jim's mother.
Jim's mom. Yeah.
It's almost like when he was writing the screenplay, like it was like, oh, well, let's not go back and change it.
No, I don't have any
Yeah.
whiteouts.
And then, so there was a couple great names in this movie. Like, okay, Jim Nightshade.
Yeah, Nightshade.
That's a
Awesome
kick-ass
name.
name. And then Tom Fury,
Yeah.
the guy who's going around selling
Yeah, we
lightning
haven't even
rods.
talked about him. Lightning
Tom,
rod guy.
yeah, lightning
Lightning
rod.
rod
Oh,
guy.
He was one of the early speaking third person guys ever.
Yeah.
Tom Fury, don't know.
Fury don't mess around with no lightning. Yeah. And so I was confused too, like with the lightning itself, right? So Mr. Dark was worried about the lightning. Normally you'd think an evil bad guy would like clouds and lightning. And then apparently lightning is what destroys their... So was the lightning like good?
The
And
hand
they
of
were...
God. The
Yeah.
finger of God.
God.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was kind of like
And-
trying to draw, like
They
why...
were smoked.
Yeah, yeah. And then...
It just took a while.
Yeah.
There you are.
Yeah, you could have got there a little sooner. So, JD, was this a recommendation? Do you like this? Tell me your thoughts.
It was a recommendation. It's weird because someone mentioned that Stephen King almost wrote it.
Yeah,
And it had a Stephen King movie feel to it. Like I expected to see him be like the bartender or something.
Yeah.
And do his cameo that he always does. But I guess that's just how 80s horror movies look like, and I just knew the Stephen King ones because they were so popular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how, like, I had a similar thing where I didn't watch this movie, but it just felt so familiar because it's just...
There were so many familiar elements in it.
Yeah. I'm curious, maybe I would have enjoyed the movie more if I had seen it growing up and had kind of a nostalgia connection to it. Like, I wanted to connect to it on that, like, childlike level. I bet kids probably like the movie more than adults do, I'm guessing. But, it wasn't... I have a hard time with some of those 80s movies that I didn't see. Like, I had never seen Big Trouble in Little China until I was an adult.
Wow. Oh, me neither.
Not a good movie.
Don't
you as a kid.
That's one of the best movies.
Heresy right there.
We will fight you.
Can
we edit Cody out of this completely?
Cut right here.
But yeah, it was fun. It was, like I said, it was a nice thing to watch on an autumn evening and kind of get cozy, and it was all right.
Yeah. For me, Something Wicked This Way Comes is, it's you could take it or leave it. The film was beautiful itself. I mean, it's a Walt Disney film, so they obviously had budget. The production was well done. The acting was great. The casting was great. But again, it left a bunch of holes for me.
Yeah.
Like, what was the motivation? I know this guy's supposed to be maybe the devil, and he's giving but what's the end game? Or is he just, running some weird carnival? There were some spaces there. I didn't know what they were doing with the people exactly, and so. But if you want to, watch something in October with your kids, and take them back to when you were a kid, this is a good film to sit down with the kids and watch.
When you were a kid?
When you were a kid.
Oh, wow. You're older than I thought.
Yes.
I would say this really is Stephen King light. I think that would be the way to put it. And like I said, his book he came out with later, Needful Things, basically was almost the same plot. A guy sets up a store, you go into the store and you buy what you want, what you need. But I put this as a recommendation for a couple different things, to see where Disney was trying to do something different. I mean, this comes up, we did Black Hole a while ago.
Yeah.
And it's along that same way where Disney was now trying to really do something. And it would have been interesting to see if they would have pushed it more later down the road and come up with something, more, Disney After Dark, something, whatever they were going to call it. But but watch this. We talked about the one scene between Jason Robards and Jonathan Pryce at the library. They have another great scene outside when the two kids are hiding under the grate, and they have this scene together that is just, and this is real weird. Like, this is Willy Wonka. Really the dark Willy Wonka. I mean, he's even got the kids' tattoos now on his hands and like that. And they're gone. And
they're trying to figure each other out and kind of bluff each other.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good scene. I'd like to have seen the movie more of this kind of thing going on. But to see those two scenes, to see two really good actors, even though Jason Robards was poorly cast, but to see two really good actors at the top of their game, that is a recommendation for film buffs. If you're looking for a scary movie, this isn't going to scare you. But if you want to see something that's just kind of interesting, and like Jady, you were bringing up, something that I think a lot of storytellers took from Ray Bradbury at this time and ran with it. So it's got a recommendation that way from me.
Awesome. All right, guys. Cody, how can people follow you?
At Cody Eden on Twitter, and I'm available to do children's birthday parties.
Nice.
Yes. Jady?
You can check me out on jadybyproxy.com or check me out on Facebook as Jady Peeters.
Awesome. And you can find me, of course, on Twitter at Jamie Maxfield. You can also follow us at Coca-Cola Classics versus Comedians. You can also check out Channel 801. On our Facebook page, and you can also check out Where's the Punch podcast. And of course, we want to thank Bob. A special thanks for Bob. He let us film these 4 episodes here at Quick Wits Theater. Tell us about Quick Wits.
You can see Quick Wits, just a great improv troupe. We've been going on for 22 years now, and we perform every Saturday right here in Midvale. Check us out at qwcomedy.com.
All right, guys, this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys coming and joining in on these films.
Thanks, man.
It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.